Hey everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at a Hayward Pro Series pump. The issue I'm having, well, as you can see, the pool's a little green right now. I just uncovered it the other day. But the problem that I'm having is having to consistently backwash the pump. It'll be running great, pressure's fine. A few hours later, I've lost a lot of pressure. It's barely pulling anything through the skimmer, and I'm having to backwash 2, 3, 4 minutes at a time and then clean and repeat process every few hours to get that pressure back up. And it just it doesn't seem right. I shouldn't have to keep going through this. And at the same time, every time I backwash, you know, I'm losing tons and tons of water, as well as the chemicals that I've recently just put in. So what we're going to be doing is breaking down that pump and getting down to where the fingers are. We're going to take them out, inspect them, and make sure that they are in fact clean, not damaged, broken, anything like that. If they are, then we'll be needing to replace them. You know, in a way, I'm kind of hoping that this may be the issue. Oh, hey, check it out. A little guy found his way into the pool already. Doesn't take these frogs long. Because if that is in fact the problem, then, you know, that'll kind of make life a little easier. If all the fingers, everything are great and intact, well, then I'm going to have to look elsewhere for the issue. So here we are. I had already got the pump broken down. I didn't think to make this video until afterwards, so that's going to save some time here. So this is what we're looking at right here. Hayward Pro Series high rate sand filter. So here's the storage tank. So as you can see in this particular one, it's very specific as far as what kind of sand needs to be used, things of that nature. And here is the pumping unit. Hayward Pro products, VeriFlow XL valve. Down inside, as you can see, I've got it all cleaned out. Everything down in here, you know, looks good the way it should be anyways. You know, here's all my silica sand, which looked great. There was no algae buildup or anything like that. And if we take a walk over here, we'll see I've already got the fingers and the unit all broke apart. Carry this back over into the shade so we can try to see a little bit better. So here's what the unit looks like apart. Basically, you've got all these fingers. This will sit back on top, and there are 5 screws, Phillips head screws, that go down into these holes. Now, once this thing is back together and in place, these fingers will freely rotate up and down. That makes it so that you can lift all the fingers up and get it in and out of the pump. So, let's see, let's pull this back off, and what we're going to do is, sorry about the video there, you know, so what we'll do is once this is apart, we'll pull these off, and we're going to just basically inspect all of them, which I've done. I blew water through all of them just to see how they would do. None of them are cracked, damaged in any way, shape, or form. So the unit looks good to me. So what I'm going to do is, it's just a reverse process. Put these all back in place, you know, the way I took them out. And I will put the top back together and bolt it down. So once I get this back together here, I'll show you how it goes back in. Okay, so as you can see, the fingers are in, the top is on, and they are all screwed down. Now, what you've got is all of these fingers will lift back up. They will move freely so that we can put this back inside the pump like that. Now, I've seen some videos where these fingers simply unscrew from where they are. Now, so when I first grabbed a hold of this thing, I was going at it like I was going to unscrew them. And I'm glad that I stopped, because had I tried to force and turn any of these, obviously I would have snapped them. So these are all going to go up just like this. Now, when I first got into this pump, you know, I took the collar off, pulled the head off of it. You know, it's not a very large opening, so trying to scoop all that sand out, 300 pounds worth of sand to be exact, would have taken a whole lot of time, and it still did take a lot of time. What I ended up having to do was take a shop vac to it and suck all the sand out of it with a shop vac. So as we see, you know, I inspected the fingers, the tubing, everything looks great. So this does not seem to be my issue that I'm having, as far as consistently having to backwash the pump and clean it out. You know, who knows, maybe it was a fluke, and I will get all this sand and everything back into it, put it together, and magically life will be grand. I won't know until I get her done. So when this goes back in, and we get the fingers back down into position, you want this to be centered back within the pump, just like it was when you took it out. And we're going to have to build some sand up around it to hold it in place, and be careful putting the sand back. I see no reason to replace this sand. There's nothing wrong with it, and it is the right weight of sand, 0.45 to 0.55 millimeter silica sand. So I'm going to get her put back together, pile some sand up around it, and once I get a good ways into it, I'll kind of show you what I've got, what I'm working with here. Okay, so I've got a good base of sand going in there, as you can see. I've got the tube with the fingers back in to help hold it in place. Now, one thing that you do want to keep in mind, this is very important, is that you want to try to keep this thing straight and centered to the pump, because you remember that when you put this head back on, it's all going to fit inside this unit right here. So you want to make sure everything goes on there nice and straight and clean fitting. Okay. Another thing I'll probably end up doing is, you know, as you can see, this thing's, you know, it's got silicone and crap all over it here to try to help absorb any leaks, anything. Because I'm probably going to end up going through all these fittings, making sure that this unit is tight, functional, in the way it should be. You know, we bought this house from my parents, and you know, my father had this pump installed and everything, you know, quite a few years back, but it's still proven to be a great pumping unit, and I really don't think that this is my issue. You know, this unit here is been wonderful. I don't think that this pumping unit is the issue either. But, you know, basically what it's come down to is this is my last resort that I can think of to do to try to maybe help fix this issue. If this does not work for me and I continue to lose pressure the way that I am, then it looks like I'm going to have to break down and spend some money to call the pros in. So hopefully this will solve it. So now that this is in place here, I can go ahead and move the fingers back down and start filling it in the rest of the way with sand. One thing to remember is these are plastic fingers and everything, so once I get them bent down and in place and I start covering them with sand, I want to be real careful about dropping the sand in on top of it, to make sure everything is nice and even, and that the sand is underneath the fingers and all the way around them, with no pockets. Obviously, once I put water to it, the sand is going to kind of settle in and fill places in, but no pockets will give more support, so that when I put the weight of the sand on it, I don't do any damage to the fingers. All the fingers are down, it's good and centered. I got a good base of sand around them. So now I'm just going to go ahead and carefully fill this thing back up with sand, nice and evenly, and yeah, get it where it needs to be, and then we'll put the head unit back on. Oh, and one more thing, as a cautionary, you can see I put tape over this tube. You want to keep the sand out of there as much as possible. Alright, so we've got all the sand back in, loaded up, ready to go. I'm going to peel this tape. I'm going to put the head back on with the O-ring and the clamp and the 2 carriage bolts there that hold it in place. Now, one thing that they say is in the instructions is that we should be filling this up halfway with water. So I'm going to do that first, fill it up halfway with water, then install the pump head. And now the other thing is because I took the sand and water and everything out, we're going to treat this as an initial startup. So what I'm going to do is, once this is all back together, is set the pump head to backwash, and I'm going to let it run for a couple of minutes until it fills all the way back up with water, and let it run like that for a minute. And keep an eye on the sight glass until I can see that all the water and everything coming into the sight glass is clear. Once it is clear, then I will stop the pump. I will turn the dial to rinse. And once it's set to rinse, we're going to run it like that for another half a minute to a minute until all the sand has removed from the sight glass. And once that happens, we'll stop the pump again and put it in normal filtration mode. So once I get this all back together, we'll start it back up and go through those steps. Okay, so we've got our head unit back on it together, and what I did also was, before I put this head on, I ended up putting a bead of silicone around it, the top of it. Like anything, you want to make sure you have a nice tight seal, that there's no leaks for the air to get in through where you're going to lose pressure, lose suction. So put the silicone to it, put the head on, tighten the bolts down. Like anything, you want to make sure you're tightening in evenly, even amount of pressure on both sides. So yeah, now we are ready to, we're going to go ahead and set this over to backwash and plug her in and fire it up. So as I said, we're going to wait for it to prime and fill up with water. And once it's primed and filled up with water, we'll see that this sight glass will start filling up. So you can see that the water is steady flowing in from the pool. Tank is filling up with water all the rest of the way. As I said, during this process, we are going to lose some of the water in our pool. So now here we see the sight glass. Everything is stirring up, settling back down. The sand is getting situated. And they said, I did not replace the sand. I didn't feel it was necessary. There was a little bit of debris in there, but it wasn't, you know, anything that I felt needing the sand to be replaced, where I just did it last year. So per the instructions on the back of the Hayward Pro Series pump, we're going to run through this for a couple of minutes until this sight glass water is clear. Okay, so it's been on backwash for a couple of minutes now. You can see, you know, we do have sand in the glass, which is normal, but the water itself is clear. So now what we're going to do is stop the pump and flip it over to rinse, and run it like that for half a minute to a minute until all the sand has left the sight glass. So she's set to rinse. You can see the sand has left the sight glass. I see, you know, we got some air bubbles in there. I don't know if that's still from the initial, you know, state of priming the pump and all that stuff. If that's normal or not, honestly, I couldn't tell you. So now that that's nice and clear, I'm going to turn ahead and set it to the filter setting and let it run. See what we got. And hopefully my problems will be solved. If not, then looks like we'll be breaking down and spending some money to call in the people who know what they're doing. Alright, so as you can see, looks like we've got good pressure right now. Everything is going the way it should be. But this kind of seems to be the way it was before, and then, you know, as time went on is when I started running into issues. But hopefully this will take care of it, and at the very least, hopefully you guys will find this video useful, helpful. You know, if it'll help you figure out how to get your pump apart and get your fingers checked out and back together, then great. Feel free to like or comment. Any questions if you have any. You know, I'm no pro with this, but you know, I've done everything that I can. Pulled up the piping in the ground, checked for leaks, looked at the jets. Done everything really that I can physically do. Like a lot of people, you know, I'm not made of money, so I'll attempt to do anything once and see how it goes before I've got to call in the pros. So again, if you like it, feel free to leave comments, questions. Take care. Thanks for watching.